Subscribe to the Donnie Houston podcast, man.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Barry Laminack, man. You are tuned in to the Donnie Houston podcast, the best podcast on the planet. Ask your mom.
Yeah, man, it's going down this Donnie Houston podcast. I am Donnie Houston. Check it out, man. We got a special guest. He's a comedian, stand-up comedian. He's been putting it down in the city and around the country for a long time, man. I'm honored and excited to have him here, man. Barry Laminack, what's going down?
What's up, man? I'm so geeked, bro. I'm a big fan. So when you asked, I was like, what? Yeah.
I gotta have you on, bro. I gotta have you on, man. What's new, bro?
Man, trying to make it in these streets, trying to hustle this job as an artist.
So is it comedy? Was that the only thing you're into now? Stand-up comedy full time?
Well, yeah. So I was on the ESPN radio here in town for 7 years. So doing sports talk, and then when COVID hit and I lost my show, a lot of my fans were like, well, do your own sports talk show. So, which I've had you on a couple times. Mm-hmm. So still do that, man. That's it. That and, the show's called Barry on Deck. But do that and then do comedy. Try to pay bills and not lose my wife.
Man, I hear how long you been married?
We've been together since 1998. We've been married since like 2004. So, yeah. But when I met her, I wasn't a comic. I wasn't in radio. I had money.
Okay, so what were you doing before then?
I was in IT. I was like,
you took a big pay cut,
bro. Like so big. Like I remember, like my last year in IT, I was making like 160K a year, 170K a year. Yeah.
Okay, so what was the decision to say, man, I'm gonna go just do comedy?
I didn't make that decision. They made it for me, right? Mm-hmm. So what happened is I was working at this company called Halliburton, and they were doing they were doing this big merger, right? And so they took a bunch of their better people, carved us out to do this merger. I forget who the name was, but they had me on the divestiture team. Well, then the government, it took like years to make this thing happen. About 3 years in, the government was like, we're not gonna let this happen anymore. So you guys can't buy this company. So then they were like, well, shit, we've been running lean for 3 years without all these people. So everybody that was working on that project, I let go. So I was sitting at home on 6 months severance, nice little severance, And the radio station that I was at, I had a show on Sundays on ESPN. It's called Houston Game Day. It would lead up to kickoff. But then they were like, hey, we want to do a midday show, and we want you to audition. And that was like on my last month of severance. I was getting ready to get another IT job. And so I auditioned for that. It took like 6 months. And got the gig, ended up getting my own show on middays here in town called The Usual Suspects with my boy Joel Blank. And then I was like, well, shit, I guess I do radio now. I ain't going back.
So you go 7 years with that.
Yep.
Pandemic comes.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay, wait. Because this is that, but stand-up comedy, though. This is you leaving the job. When is the stand-up comedy?
So the comedy thing, man, I started that when I was, again, in between jobs in IT, and I was just sitting at home, and I had wanted to be a stand-up comic since I was like 8 years old, bro. I remember I watched Bill Cosby himself. That was the shit, and I fell in love with it because I was like, yo, this man is doing.
That's the one with the suit he's on the.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it goes down as one of the greatest specials of all time. You know what I mean? Like I just memorized it because I remember just watching him making people laugh. I remember I used to love making my family laugh. I would come home and tell stories from school, and I remember watching him do that, but with thousands of people in the crowd. I was like, I want to do that. You know what I mean? So like from 8, I wanted to do it, and then I was 38 years old, man, and I was in between jobs, and I had gotten laid off again, and I was sitting around. I was like, you know what? Why haven't I done this? So I tried it. And then, that kind of was a hobby until this point. About, it was May 2020 is when I got let go from the radio station.
So when did you first go on stage? What year was that?
Oh, shit. 2013.
2013.
Yeah. So it's literally been a decade. In fact, it was April of 2013.
So and where'd you go? What was your first time going on there?
So it was at this Mexican food restaurant. I don't even know. Like they literally, bro, my set was so bad.
Oh shit! So you went in there, you had to go fight for attention and all this shit. Bro, this wasn't even a spot.
It was like an open mic. It was a comedy open mic. at a Mexican food restaurant. I don't even remember the name of it. This dude named Steven Padilla ran it, and I was like, a buddy, a friend of mine now, John Westling, had given me some advice. He was like, and by the way, any comics out there, this is the best advice you'll get. He was like, don't just go on stage. He was like, for like 6 weeks, man, just go watch comedy. Just go watch. And if you're observant, if you pay attention, he's like, go watch every open mic, every show you can get to, go home and write, and just do that for 6 weeks, then go up. So I felt like I was prepared. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, I got this. And I did all right, but they shut down the restaurant the next day, so obviously wasn't that good. Bro, the whole place closed the next day. I was like, damn,
not just a night. The whole
how bad was my set? They were like, fuck it, we're going out of business.
Okay, so what do you pick up from there? Because usually people go, okay, well, I go this place this week, and then next week I'll go back. Where do you go from there? Because now that your whole thing is like, it's over. So
yeah, like I was, and I didn't know what to do. So I hit up that dude, John Weston, again. I was like, hey, man, I don't know. So he's just like, just start going to open mics, man. And there's a lot of open mics in town. A lot of people don't know that. But
where are the best open mics in Houston?
The best. If you want to do comedy, like I know for me, now 10 years in and headlining B rooms and working the road and shit like that, I don't necessarily do open mics as much anymore. Mm-hmm. Because if I'm working on a joke, I just put it in a 45-minute set, an hour set. It's 2 or 3 minutes, nobody knows the difference. You know what I mean? But there's the open mic at Rudyard's British Pub in town. It's on Mondays. I think it starts at like 8 o'clock. And that's like the best open mic for comedy in the city, hands down. Like if you do that, and for me, if I've got a joke that I'm working on, or I want to test it in front of a crowd, and maybe I don't have a gig coming up on the road anytime soon, I'll go to that.
You said it's called Rudyard's?
It's called Rudyard's British Pub, and it's just their open mic. It's been going on forever. Almost a decade. Almost. I think it started in 2014. But that's the one where like you get like a club response. You get like if they laugh at your jokes there, it's probably going to work wherever you want to do them. So, yeah, Rudyard's is the best. But there's a bunch. But like it's like anything, man. It's like it is what you make of it. If you just want to go up and tell the jokes, and you're not worried about because there's 3 people in the crowd and 2 of them are asleep and all that bullshit, you can do it pretty much anywhere. But like if you're looking for that feedback, Rudyard's.
So okay, this is 2013. You first go on stage.
Mm-hmm.
When do you finally get the feel of like, well, had you already made a decision of this is what I'm going to do? Or when you did it, you were like, well, let me see how this goes. Or you knew first time, like, no, I'm going to stick.
Well, I didn't think it was going to be my full-time job. I knew like I was going to keep working while I was trying to establish myself, while I was trying to become a full-time stand-up comic. Because you can't, bro. We were just talking like, man, listen.
The comedy road is way rougher than I thought it was.
Now I want to know, like, what do you get on the road in the music business?
Because this is how I compare it. Like I was telling my boy, shout out Shaquem Olajuwon, man. He was a homie of mine. He's a new comedian. Uh-huh. And I always tell him, like, comedy isn't like DJing, right? If you learn how to DJ and you just learn how to, all right, I'm good. I can do this shit for 4 hours, whatever. You can go get you $200.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
That ain't shit.
Nah, you're not. Mm-mm. No, there's like when you first start in comedy, man, there's some gigs that'll pay you like $25 a show, locally or on the road, and you're doing 5 shows. So you're gonna drive to Dallas or
How long are these sets expected?
So like when you start, there's like a hierarchy, right? It's like when you like open micers, obviously you're just learning the business, you're learning the craft, you're going on stage and you're just trying out stuff, and you might do a few shows in town locally that are called showcase shows or stuff like that. But when you really start to work like the clubs and move up, so you become an MC first, normally. And that's like the newest spot on the card, so to speak, or on the show. So you do like a 15-minute set. That's usually what an MC set is. And you'll get, anywhere from $25 to $50 depending on the club. And then the feature, when you get moved up to featuring, they call it middling or the middle act. That's kind of like you're more advanced than the MC, but you're not headlining yet. But you're on your way. And that usually, that could pay anywhere from $500 or $50 to $200 a show, just depending on the club that you work. But there's a lot of clubs that still don't pay, man. I won't name names, but there's clubs that haven't given their comics a raise in like 25, 30 years. They're still paying what they were paying like in the 90s. Imagine that. Yeah.
That's
it's
crazy.
like you don't go into comedy for the money. You just don't. You know, I mean, like I said, bro, I've been doing this a decade.
But there's like, but when does the switch happen? Because you can't sustain. I mean, even if you're not doing it full time, the goal is to do it full time. And if you're nickel and diming like that, like, bruh.
I mean, if I knew when the switch was, I'd go flip.
Like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, what's the game in this shit? Like, how do you get to that? You know what I mean?
You know what, dude? It's like they always say. The example I always use is like Kevin Hart. They said that Kevin Hart came out of nowhere. It's like, bro, Kevin Hart, that man grinded for like 20 years before he really popped. You know what I mean? He had a few things on TV and this and that, but. And that's the kind of mentality you have to have when you do this. Now, it's different. It used to be like, 20, 30 years ago before the internet. The whole goal was to get on TV. You wanted to get on late night TV, man. If I could get on Carson, if I could get on Letterman, if I could get on Leno, if I could get on something like that, I can get a break. And then I can start touring or get a HBO special or some shit like that. And now, bro, with the internet, it's the switches if you go viral. I mean, that's where we're at now. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have something that pops. You're not just becoming a great comic. It's rare. It's so rare. It's like, I mean, I'm sure it's like the same thing in the music business. You know what I mean? Like, there's a million rappers. There's a million singers.
You got to work it. It's just
there's a million producers.
Yeah.
But you got to have that one moment. It's like, what do they say? What is it? Luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. That's the same, bro. It's the same thing.
So for you, what was it? Because I mean, you've graduated from like the bare minimums of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was the thing that propelled you to that? Was it just being consistent? Was it building up followings where you become a demand in certain places? Like, what was the thing that switched for you?
Man, you know what it really is? It was, for me, it was being older. Like, I moved up in the game faster, right? Like, a lot of times it could take you 4, 5, 6 years before you start headlining. And it could take you 2, 3 years, 4 years sometimes before you move up from MC to feature. And it could take 2 years to start MCing. And I was MCing within my first year. I was featuring before my second year was up. And then I was headlining.
But you're saying age. What was it though?
It's like.
Or did you have a different view of it because you're older and you just figured out a more logical way to approach it?
You know what it was like? It's having that life experience. Being 38 instead of 18 or 28. Being 38, having been through the corporate world, I knew to latch on to people that had done this. You talking about your mentoring a guy. I used to teach the workshops at the Houston Improv, and that was one of the things I always told new comics. As I was like, you have to have a mentor in this business that can show you the ropes, that can teach you the ins and outs of the business that you don't just learn on stage or like it's crucial. But if you're young, you know this from the music business, man. If you're young, you don't pay attention to that. You just see, why am I not famous yet? Why am I not famous yet? It's like, bro, that shit don't happen like that. It takes years and years, but you have to pay attention. And you have to pick up on the clues and the shit that's around you on how to get better and do the shit you're supposed to do to get better. And that was where I think I had the advantage versus some of the younger comics that started when I started is I had been through corporate America. I knew about paying attention to people that had been down that road and listening. And then when they tell you to do something, you do it.
Tell me this, because this is one thing I always say is like when you're starting out, you want to be on stage as often as possible. Always, yeah. Stage time, man. You should always be writing and always performing. That's it. So when you were starting out, how many times a week were you hitting stage?
Bro, I was still working a full-time job. I was still in IT, and I would get home. Sometimes I wouldn't even go home. Sometimes I would just go straight from work to the open mic or straight from work to a show, and I was probably going up. Some nights I would go up twice. I would do at least 2 open mics, or I might be lucky to land a show. But I mean, I was probably going out 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, doing comedy, just doing open mics, or getting a guest set on a show, and sometimes I would just go watch because I was still so new that you can learn from everybody, bro. You can learn from a good comic and you can learn from a bad comic. You can learn what not to do just as much as you can learn what to do.
What's something you saw where you was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that when I go on stage?
Man, for me, it was about like one of the big things that you see in this, and it's usually the ones that the dudes that flame out, but it's that overconfidence, and it's like a lot of comics will go on stage and hear laughs that don't exist. You know what I mean, bro? I see this shit all the time with new comics where they come off stage like, I killed. I'm like, where the fuck were you?
Nobody was laughing.
I didn't hear nobody laugh. And you see that shit on social media, like, man, I killed it last night. And I just want to like reply and be like, bitch, I was there. You did not. That shit was awful, bro. Like I could hear people breathing. You know, so like it was having self-awareness. That was one of the big things, was just going on stage and knowing, yo, that shit wasn't good tonight. I didn't do good tonight. That joke didn't work. How do I fix that joke? But just being self-aware, man, is so important. So important.
Man, talk about just comedy in Houston, bro. Because we're not LA, we're not New York, we're not Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Like, talk about the grind in Houston, and then sidebar. I'm sure you've seen Ali's new special, because he's been someone who's been dedicated to saying, I am going to make it from here, and he has went leaps and bounds.
I can't even begin to explain to you how much Ali means to comedy in this city. And like, dude, that dude, I don't think there's another comic that I love more and fear more than Ali.
He is a master comedian, dog. Like,
he's everything most comics should be. You know what I mean? Like I had just watched, literally driving back from Wichita this weekend. I put on in the car. I put on Domino Effect 2 Lost.
Oh my god!
And man,
oh my god, that shit is like.
I said this, and this was not hyperbole, and this was not me just saying this because I've worked with Ali. I've talked to him briefly. One time he gave me some advice when I got off stage, and I was just, man, you'd have thought you couldn't tell me nothing, man. Ali just told me how to fix a joke. You couldn't tell me nothing, man. Great dude. You know, I've been fortunate enough to. Him and his people have asked me, hey man, can you come help us with something? So it's been really cool just to be in some way associated with that dude in comedy, because you're right, he's the one guy that was like, I'm gonna do it from here and I'm gonna do it my way. Because like, this is 2023, bro. People don't we're told, at least, people don't have the attention span to listen to stories. People need
quick beats,
the one-liners, them quick jokes, that high energy, crazy shit that keeps your attention. And Ali was like, "That's not me. I'm gonna do it the way I do it." And it's just he's a master at that. He is, without a doubt, this generation's best storyteller.
Yes,
I don't give a shit.
I'm glad you said it, because I've been saying this.
Whoever you want to say is a better storyteller.
Nobody telling better stories than Ali right now, bro. I don't want to hear it.
And you know what? He might go down as one of the greatest ever. Ever. Like, I remember, like, when I was growing up, bro, I loved hip-hop music, and I used to love to listen to Ice Cube. That was my favorite MC, because the picture that he painted was unlike anything else you heard. You know what I mean? Like, you could see his lyrics, to me. And that's what I can see Ali's jokes. And he'll do some act outs and he does some stuff, but bro,
you can listen to him and you can just.
Yeah, I'm driving, like I can't even watch half of it. But like, I'm still, I didn't need to watch per se, because I could see the story. You know what I mean? I could see him and Charles. I was just like, but man, I'm telling you right now, there was a moment in that special, and I don't want to ruin it, so spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet, just fast forward a little bit.
First of all, I can tell you, if you're watching this and you haven't seen it, it's okay to pause this interview and go watch it.
Go watch it.
It's that good. It's that good, man. Yeah.
Listen to this. Man, when he talked about his little sister.
Oh, man.
And losing her. And then
when he came out of it?
Not even that, bro. It was the raw emotion of it on stage. I'm driving down I-35, bro. I'm crying with that man. You know what I mean? Like, it was, and I was like, bro, there's maybe 3 comics in the world that can get to that level. Do you understand how hard it is to be that? Especially Ali, man. Ali has the reputation of being a great dude, but he's no nonsense. You know what I mean? Ali don't play, and he's. I was stunned by the vulnerability, and I was like, man, so many of us comics want to be able to achieve that level of vulnerability on stage, that level of this just raw emotion. Bro, it took me 3 years just to get used to silence on stage. There was never a pause. Like, if there was more than 2 seconds of just... that
was uncomfortable for you.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. Now, I've learned that I can use that as a tool to get bigger laughs, longer laughs with silence, man. And Ali had mastered that so early that it's just like, he just uses it, man. It's just insane, the level he's on.
Yeah, Ali is one of the greatest comedians of all time. At this point, he's one of the greatest comedians of all time.
You know what's funny, bro? Let me tell you a quick story about Ali. So, I got my radio show, and I'm doing comedy, and, life is good. And I hit up Ali. I'm like, hey, man, will you come do my radio show? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, shit, we got Ali. Yeah, baby. We get him on air. And, dude, like I said, Ali is on a next level of everything. Thought, consciousness, like everything, bro. It's hard to describe, but I remember saying some of the stupidest shit to this man on air. And one of the things I said, and I meant it as a compliment, what I didn't realize was how big of a slap in the face it was at the time to say it. But I was like, man, it's so cool to see you do what you're doing. You're like you're the biggest comic in this city. Yeah.
You told that to Ali?
Yeah.
He gave you a speech.
I fucked up. Air, live.
He gave you a speech. Bro,
it wasn't even like I'm gonna tear your ass up when we go to break. No. But I deserved it. You know what I mean? Like I had that small city mentality. I had that local mentality. I didn't realize
just because he's here, he's much. Yeah.
Exactly. And he was like, let me tell you something, man. Ali don't play. He was like, I'm not the greatest comedian in this city. I'm one of the greatest comics in this country, man. I'm one of the best comics to do this. I was like, I was just mortified. But he was right. You know what I mean? Like, I was thinking small for him, and I was out of pocket on that, bro. And
that's what.
There's nothing that will humble you more than getting humbled on your own radio show.
That's funny, but that's one thing that I took from Ali of like, man, you know what? Nah, bro, it's okay to be from here. Say I'm from here, and you're not gonna box me in as just being here. Like, acknowledge me. You know what I mean? Like Ali,
but we have a tendency to do that, right? Like, you're like, oh man, he's. It was the equivalent of me saying, oh man, the Ghetto Boys are the greatest rap group in this city. Like, what are you talking about, bro?
We've impacted the world, yeah.
Yeah, like, come on, man. Like, it was that, but it was being naive. You know what I mean? Thinking I was giving that man a compliment when it wasn't. But man, so like from then on, I was always a little intimidated by it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a grown ass man. I'm 49 years old. I don't get starstruck. I don't get I meet famous people. I don't give a shit, dude. I did radio and comedy. I've opened and worked with some of the biggest names in this business, but man, you put Ali in a room with me, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna fuck up again.
No, he's the GOAT, dog. He's the GOAT.
Yeah.
He's the GOAT. Okay, top 5 comedians of all time. Who you got?
Top 5? Shit. So I mean, obviously, and you have to separate. You know where I'm going with this first one. You have to separate him from what he did, but Bill Cosby is the reason I wanted to do comedy. You know what I mean? He's the reason that I realized, oh, you can do this for people, and no matter what anybody wants to say, and obviously the shit he did no,
it's all fucked up,
awful. But on stage, man, like Pryor was influenced by Cosby. You know what I mean? Like Pryor was tried at first.
When I read Pryor's book, that's when I was like, oh shit, like he was trying to be
the next Bill
Cosby, and then he had to figure out that wasn't him, and that's how he found his voice. But like,
yes,
Pryor was trying to be Bill.
Yes. I forget who said it, man, but it harkens back to that moment when they were like, you could only have one famous black comic in America at a time. The media, and Cosby was.
And they chose him, yeah.
And so that was what Pryor's mentality was like, oh well, I got to do that. You know what I mean? So obviously Cosby for me is one of the top 5. I didn't watch a lot of Richard Pryor. I acknowledge his greatness as one of the greatest of all time.
Same with me. I'm anytime in these conversations I always go Eddie Murphy over Richard Pryor though.
Do you? See, and I grew up on Eddie Murphy. I grew up on Eddie Murphy and then Def Comedy Jam, bro. That was my biggest influence of anything was Def Comedy Jam.
And Comic View for me. Too.
Yeah. But for me, man, it was just straight up Def Comedy Jam. Me and my brother, we would watch nothing but Def Comedy Jam. And what's crazy is later we kind of got separated and shit, but later on he became a comic. And his name was Touche Jackson. He passed away. But he became a comic. And I would see the influences of the shit we used to watch. Because we would memorize every Def Comedy Jam episode, bro. And that was back when nobody even knew who Chappelle was. You know, I remember
the
watching
Domino's Pizza shit.
Yes. Hey, yo, Dave. I would bite his shit off. Yeah. Bro, and we would literally, like, he was one of our favorites. We didn't know who that dude was. You know what I mean? But I remember Arnez J coming out. I remember, that was my big influences. And so, you know, bro, I have a personal top 5, and then I have like, okay, let's just be real about who the greatest comics of all time are.
No, I want to know your top 5. We can have both. We can do both.
You know, so I would put Pryor and even though the dude never made me laugh, but George Carlin, you can't deny his greatness either. Yeah. You know what I mean? You just can't deny his greatness. But I think those are the first 3 you got to name when you name comics: Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor, and George Carlin. And then, you know, the other 2, I mean, bro. I don't know. But, like, my personal top 5s, Bill Burr is up there as one of the best ever. And this is going to, a lot of y'all, don't judge me in the comments, man. I swear to God, I'll reply to every one of them. Mike Epps.
What's wrong with Mike Epps?
Bro, a lot of people hate on Mike Epps. They don't think he's funny.
I fuck with Mike Epps. I just don't know if Mike Epps writes material as much. Like, sometimes it seems like he kind of freestyles and shit.
You know what I mean? Like, we talked about seeing comedy. To me, dude, nothing makes me laugh more than a great example, and I forget the name because I'm terrible with memorizing shit. But the special he did, it was like he was wearing like a light blue polo shirt. But he started doing he started talking about he started doing a crackhead impression, and then he did like this old man shooting dice impression, and then like those kind of things is kind of silly, but it was so good, it was so real. Like I'm fascinated by that shit. So I just love that. I can just watch Mike Epps do impressions of the people in his life, and just die laughing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a smart comic, so I'm not one of them cats who's gonna be like, I like really smart, heady comedy, man. I like silly shit. So like Mike Epps is up there for me. Bill Burr, Ali, and if it wasn't obvious before, once you watch Domino Effect 2 Lost, when you look at the fact that it's just one long story, the emotion, the vulnerability, the way just everything was just and you know. So I had to be like,
yeah. No, Ali moved. He's in my top 5.
It has to be now. Has to be now. You know what I mean? If he wasn't 5 years ago, if he wasn't 2 years ago, watch Domino Effect 2. And that's when you recognize greatness. So, and I'm gonna tell you, there's a bunch of comics that a lot of people don't know about that I've worked with in the past. That like, there's a dude named Dave Landau who is just a phenomenal.
Is he from here?
Comedian and writer. No, he was from like Detroit, and he's not in the vein of like Def Comedy Jam. He's just this kind of straight laced white dude, but his shit is so funny. He was one of them cats that when I watched it, he made me go home and tear up all my shit and rewrite. And that to me, that's why I say I have him in one of my personal top 5. It's just because he made me want to be a better comic. He made me reevaluate the shit that I was doing early on. So, and that without even knowing it, you know, just watching him and seeing like, oh, this is how you not only tell a joke but tag a joke So yeah, he's up there. I don't know, man. Like, who would my fifth? Ah, shit. It's so hard, dude, because there's so many great comics. Yeah. So many. Like, who's your top five?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me this shit, man.
Now, see, I got a show where I interview people too.
I know.
I know how to do this.
Ali, and this is any order. Ali, Eddie Murphy, Ali, Eddie Murphy, and then there's, like you said, personals. Like, I used to really enjoy Cedric the Entertainer.
Who?
Cedric the Entertainer.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I really like. There's so many. There's like random people like this dude Jamario. I don't know what Jamario is, but I used to like him when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? Like this. Like, I love comedy, bro. Just as much as I can talk to you about music and shit, I can talk to you about comedy. Bro.
Yeah.
That's how my life kind of went. Like NBA basketball, music, video soul, and MTV raps and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then fucking Comic View, Def Jam, all that. That's my childhood right there.
Yeah.
Not too many cartoons.
Pretty close for me too, man. Like, I always wanted to be a rapper and a producer until I got booed off stage at Kokomo's, and then I was like, okay.
Oh, you tried the shit?
They don't really fuck with me.
You spitting some shit?
Huh?
You spitting?
No. Not now, bro. I'm 49-year-old.
No, I'm saying back then when you say you got booed though.
I mean,
you were spitting, you were writing.
Yeah. I would write all the time. Like, dude, I'm telling you, man, I fell in love with hip hop music.
You kind of look like MC Search a little bit, dog.
That was my nickname in high school.
Get the fuck out of here!
I swear to God, bro, I had a huge flat top. Yeah. I would guarantee you, somebody from Jersey Village High School is gonna watch this and be like, "Oh shit, I'll show you. I got a picture. You can put it on screen." I was just, man, I loved everything about the music, and I mean, my friends all listened to it, you know what I mean? That's all we listened to. And my stepdad at the time was a musician, and he had a pretty decent record collection. And that's when I found like soul music, Motown. I found Stax. I found Philly soul. I found, you know what I mean? Like, and then that's when I realized, oh shit,
this comes from
this is the origin of this. And I was just infatuated by it. And so all I wanted to do was just like make beats and rap. And
I had no idea about any of this shit, bro.
We had a little group, and bro, I went to this club called Kokomo's, and it used to be a club like the big places, the big schools. Well, they have a lot of people from Acres Homes would go, and then like I was at Jersey Village, so a lot of like people from Carverdale would go, and there was a few other neighborhoods that kind of in the area that would go. I was literally the only white dude at this club, always. But I mean, like, I was the only white dude amongst my friends. You know what I mean? Like, back then, though, that was not... Like, nowadays, you see a white dude with a bunch of black friends, nobody really thinks twice. Back then, that was not normal. You know what I mean? Like, so I would be at the club, and I thought, hey, I'm going to do this. I can do this. And they had, like, a rap contest. Bro, it took 4 seconds. 4 seconds, man, and the whole club. I think my boys was booing. It was so fucking bad, dude.
What year is this?
Oh shit, this was 91, 92.
Oh yeah, they done.
Because I graduated from Jersey Village in 92.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was 91, 92. They weren't fucking with white dudes.
That's what I'm gonna say. They ain't trying to hit no white rappers in 91.
No, bro, you had the Beastie Boys. You had Third Base.
Vanilla Ice might have been the only.
And you had Vanilla Ice. And that, bro, like, as many people that would call me MC Search, that
make
many
you do the Vanilla Ice? No shit.
They'd be like, hey, what's up, Vanilla Ice? I'd be like, well, that's not.
Search was cool, man. But
Search is cool. But, unless you ask X-Clan. Anyways. Which, I mean, like, that was one of my favorite groups, man. Oh, shit. Yeah, I really liked East Coast hip-hop back then.
Well, I mean, that was what was dominant. West Coast hadn't really. I mean, you had NWA, but West Coast hadn't really made that.
No, gangster rap was big though. Because I remember, because I always liked to discover new groups that nobody else was really fucking with. You know what I mean? Like Above the Law, or Compton's Most Wanted, or out east, I would like Poor Righteous Teachers was like one of my all-time favorites. YZ and King Son, and that's the shit that I listened to. Like I listened to the mainstream shit, but man, that East Coast Afrocentric, what was the genre called?
I know what you're saying.
It wasn't
Cause you had like
it was like all the 5%ers and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like it was like that. It was. I forget the name of it. Conscious rap. Well, not really though.
But there's a term for that era of hip hop.
Yes, I know like the YZs and shit like that. And so but that was my shit. So I thought that's what I could do. Nobody,
I had no idea.
Ready for that.
I had no idea.
And you know what's fucked up, bro? I was like, I graduated from Jersey Village, and Paul Wall was like 3 years behind me.
Yeah, and then you were too early to the party, dog.
Yeah, a little before my time. Also, I couldn't rap for shit. I wasn't good. You know what I mean? Like I knew. They were like, maybe you just dance and make beats. I was like, I'll do that. Oh man, we had dancers here. Everybody that couldn't rap was going to be the next Scuba Scrap. You know what I mean? Everybody in the crew that couldn't rap was going to be the next Scuba Scrap. We didn't have a Big Daddy Kane, but they were going to be the next Scuba Scrap.
You going to dance though? Then you going to go into his legs and he going
Man, we were
y'all had routines and shit?
Yes, man. We had songs and routines, backup dancers, and I would make the beats in my bedroom. It was just the worst equipment ever. Just the wackest beats. Like
you were really involved in this shit, bro. How did I not know this?
You never
this is why we had a podcast. This is when I find this type of shit out.
Oh man, no, I was really. This is what I wanted to do. Like if you would have asked me to choose, even now, you know, like, but it's one of those things like. There's a comic that talks about it, but it's always one of those things like musicians want to be athletes, right? Comedians want to be musicians. Athletes want to be musicians, and you know, all of them want to do comedy. You know what I mean? Like it's just this weird. Whatever it is that you do, what you really want to do is the other thing. And for me, that was music, man. I loved everything about hip hop. Everything.
That's the truth, man.
Yeah.
That is a trip. Well, man, what you got coming up next, man? What we got to look forward to?
Shit, man. You know, just it grinding, really. I was trying to get an album recorded up, my first comedy album. I had it set up for last year. I had the venue, and then it got double booked. So, I mean, my big goal right now, I filmed a special for Dry Bar Comedy, which is all clean comedy, which that's supposed to come out at some point. I don't know when. I mean, we filmed it in October of 2021. But at some point, that's supposed to drop. But in the meantime, I'm just trying to get my own album out and maybe, you know, video film it for a special too. But that's it, man. Just keep trying to go viral, you know, like we were talking about. That's how you do it nowadays. You literally have to have some
hope
shit
for the moment, yeah.
Pops off. And once it does, you're set. So that's it. I'm just grinding, man.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you coming through, man.
Dude, this was, man, I'm so glad you asked me. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, man, because I'm a big fan, dude. That's why I had you on my show. Because I saw you. What was that chick's name? That white girl that did the, she was like, this is a new kind of music called
that's
Slow
my girl,
Reverb.
Dev Lemons.
Yeah, I saw that. Like that had went viral for you, and that's how I saw you the first time. The way the humanity that you showed that woman, that's when I became a big fan.
You know, people wanted me to like attack her, and it's like, for one,
I think either we wanted it or expected it.
Yeah, but it never looks good for the black guy to attack the white girl in public. First of all, you know what I mean. Second of all, the other thing was she really came down to like she just ignorant, and she ended up being someone that after I told her that she would hit me up randomly 2 a.m, 3 p.m. Hey, I just checked out Big Mello. I really love this song. I just checked this out. I really love like just random shit. She had a thirst for knowledge and just was wrong, bro. And that happens all the time. You know what I'm saying?
But man, I'm telling you, man, the way you handled it, because I know how I would have been like, you stupid ass, like that would have been me. But yeah, man, it was.
I mean, that's the easiest thing.
I was impressed by it.
I appreciate it.
I became a fan, man.
I appreciate it, man.
So I was geeked out when you asked me. Thank you for having me, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Barry Laminack. Oh, your social media.
Yeah, I got 2 of them. If you want to keep up with the comedy, it's at Barry is Funny. So that's everything, whatever platform you're on. And then for my sports talk show, and that is at Barry on Deck. And I came up with a name because it was like my turn. So not the E is very important. When you fucking put an I, you're gonna end up on my OnlyFans, and you don't want to see that. So Barry on Deck with an E.
Hey man. Barry on Deck with an E. The E is very important.
It's crucial.
He could be. He's a difference maker, man. Listen, Barry Laminack, Donnie Houston, Donnie's podcast. We're out of here.
Donnie Houston.
Subscribe to the Donnie Houston podcast, man.